Hello and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name is Thomas, back on the channel today with Terry McAllister. Today, of course, with the January transfer window coming up, we are going to be talking about a bit of transfer speculation. We've got a list of names who have been linked in the press that we're going to say whether we're going to keep them, loan them, sell them. There's not too many players that have been linked with an exit. Of course, we do have quite a thin squad at the moment, so it will be quite heavily faced on the incomings, but we will mention a couple of players on our own squad. We're going to start off with kind of the headliner player, I think. Fabrizio Romano's reported on this. We know he's out of favour at Spurs with Jose Mourinho. If you've watched the documentary, there was a lot of talk in that, and then it's quite clear to see he's not starting as much as he probably would like to at Spurs. So the man is, of course, Dele Alli. Apparently, just Mourinho doesn't favour him. He doesn't like his attitude, and he might be available for loan in January. So, Terry, what do you think about that one?
No, it's a no from me. I did a segment on this when it first came out, with Owen, and Owen was pro Dele Alli. He wanted him. I don't think it's a good fit personally. Is he a good player? Yeah, on his day he's a very good player. Very intelligent, sort of number 10, link the play forward. Like the type of number 10 that Tim Cahill was. He doesn't create all kinds, but his movement's really good. He plays well with the striker, but I just don't think it's a good fit for Everton. I think his attitude you see in that Spurs documentary, he's sort of a petulant, stroppy kid. You don't want that. You want players who are going to fight for the cause. That's obviously just my opinion, but then you see the other things which aren't opinion, such as they might not loan him to us because we're in the top four. We're competing for a Champions League place, or at least at the time of recording this, with Spurs. And even if we don't end up there, that's the way Spurs will view it. So there's no way they're going to strengthen a rival. And even if they were going to do that, I don't want to develop Spurs' player for them because we're not going to buy him at the end of it because, Daniel Levy is not going to give an English young player, England international, away cheap. He's going to be 40 million upwards in price, and we're not going to pay that, and I wouldn't want us to pay it. So I just don't see any upside to that potential deal. It's a hard no from me. If it were to happen and I was wrong on all those counts, then hopefully he does well. But I just don't see it on any level.
I'd probably have to slightly disagree. To be fair, I think with the fact that it is a loan, as you mentioned, Daniel Levy's not going to let him go for on a permanent, for a little amount of money. But I think I would be interested to see if Ancelotti could get a tune out of him. It's clear that Mourinho doesn't favour him. However, I think that this rumour definitely came up when Sigurdsson was in a poor run of form. Of course, his form has picked up recently because we were looking for that kind of creative midfielder that we didn't have because Gomez has obviously struggled for form over the past season or so. Sigurdsson wasn't playing well, but I genuinely think on a loan deal it wouldn't be the end of the world, purely because you could go into the finances of it, how much of his wages we pay and what would the loan fee be, etc. But as an experiment, if we needed a bit of creativity in the midfield, which I still think we will do because Gylfi Sigurdsson at the end of the day he is playing well, but we know he can kind of go off the boil. I don't think he's the most reliable player ever. I'm very pleased he's doing well. It has added to our side, picked up a couple of goals recently, but I can't trust Gomez to come in for him. If he has to be rested, we do know the fixtures are still coming thick and fast. I don't think it's the end of the world, but as you mentioned, our Spurs going to loan him to us even. Maybe not. We saw with Romero in the summer. Apparently we wanted him, he wanted to come, but United didn't want to sell him purely because we were a rival for the kind of, they saw us as a rival for those top 6 positions. I'd personally like to see it just because I can't see Sigurdsson's run of form lasting forever. And outside of him, in terms of a creative midfielder, I really don't think we have a lot. I don't think Gomez is really up to it at all recently, and I'm not sure I can see his form picking up. And even then, he's not the same player as Gylfi Sigurdsson. Gylfi Sigurdsson is, of course, that more forward. Forward. He is an attacking midfielder at the end of the day, and I'm not really sure what role Gomez has in the side at the moment. But for me, I don't think it would be that bad of a deal if he came in on loan. And then, in terms of permanent, that's the problem. If we wanted him on a permanent, it's because he's played well. But then we know what Levy's like to negotiate with, so I can't really see that going well. But as I mentioned, in terms of that kind of bolstering the attack midfield, because I think if we do get Gbamin, touch wood, apparently he is still around Finch Farm. If we do get him back, we get Allen back from injury at a similar time. We've got Decore. In terms of defensive midfield, or box to box at least, I think we're pretty sorted is that kind of creative midfield role that we are lacking. And that kind of segues us into another player who has been linked quite a while ago now, Isco from Real Madrid. Hasn't been in the most favour, but interestingly enough was the reason that James Rodriguez fell out of favour at Real Madrid, where Zidane kind of favoured Isco in that third midfielder role. There has been talk about permanent deal, there has been talk about a loan, similar to the James Rodriguez deal. What would you make about Isco coming in the January transfer window, Terry?
When this first came out, I was more up for it because we just had James come into the team. James, was pre-injury because we haven't seen him for a while, so it's easy to to get used to him not being in the team now. When it first came out, I was like, well, it worked for James. Everyone thought James was going to struggle to adapt, and he's just bossing it. And I was up for it. I thought, well, let's see if Carlo can get a tune out of him. He's 28. He clearly seems to want the immediate impact players. Not to say he's going to buy a load of 35-year-olds, but like a 28-year-old of his quality level, you still get years and years out of him if you get it right. But as time's gone on, and I've looked at the way things have gone, is he what we need? Would he just be another Sigurdsson? Like Sigurdsson's turned it around a lot now. He seems to be playing well, but he's still clearly going to be on that list of we'll take an offer for him if one comes in when it comes to the summer. I think Carlo's just getting use out of everyone he's got. I don't think there's any long-term plans for players like that. And it just feels like we'd be adding an even more expensive Sigurdsson into the squad. Just for the record, I mean it's going to kill the segment a little bit. I don't think we'll do any business. I think they're planning to just use the squad they've got unless something was to come about that was a total surprise, like a player who's on their radar suddenly becomes available, that they didn't expect, and I think they might move. But I think right now they're not planning to bring anyone in, and they're going to do it summer by summer. Whether that's right or that's wrong, I don't know. But I don't think a move for someone like Isco is going to be high priority in this window because what would he really? He'd have to be incredible. He'd have to come in and be we had to get him. He was too good, because if he comes in and just settles in and he's sort of, he doesn't set the world on fire, then you've got a really expensive second Sigurdsson, haven't you? And that's what we want to get away from. I think James and Allen were different, matters altogether. They immediately went in the team and changed the way the team played. I don't think we need Isco in that regard. I think what they want to do is bring in a more solid centre midfielder, and probably in the summer to go into a middle three to let the front three really cut loose. I don't think we're going to be looking for a Dele Alli or an Isco personally.
Yeah, I'm not too convinced by the potential sign of Isco. Okay, yeah, as you mentioned, 28. It's not a bad age by any means. He's not like kind of coming towards the end of his career, probably in the prime. But I can't see us maybe moving on a permanent for him at all in January. I can't see us moving for anyone necessarily permanent in January. Just, I mean, we already knew that money was a stretch back in the summer. We then went on a decent spending spree. I think Carlo's probably fairly happy with the squad he's got. But if I was going to strengthen in the midfield, I'd much favour a loan move for Dele Alli just until the end of the season than I would any kind of permanent move for Isco. I can't see that kind of financially making any sense. And as you mentioned, would he end up making that instant impact? Of course, we didn't think James would, but instantly he did. Slightly different players, though, at the end of the day. I'm not sure we really have a necessity. And then we are just going to be overloaded with midfielders. I think if we do bring in a player like Isco, yes, I didn't think it would be the end of the world if we bring in Dele Alli on loan, but after Isco, we've still got players like Tom Davies, who, of course, they've started recently, but not starting all the time. It's great kind of continuing adding quality to the squad, but you can't just end up with a massive squad when you haven't got anyone going out the door. But it is interesting with the loan discussions. Of course, we do have Robin Olsen on loan, and just a rumour I kind of want to touch on here. There are rumours we want to make that into a permanent deal, maybe because of the loan restrictions. They loan so many players in a season. I think his contract runs out at Roma at the end of this season, I believe, in the summer. So would that make any sense to you, bringing on Olsen on a permanent, which frees up loan moves for potentially Dele Alli or someone like that?
Have we got another loanee other than him?
Not that I can think of. Maybe they're just aiming for 2 loans. I think that's the maximum we can have.
Yeah, it'd be a strange one. I wouldn't be offended by it because, as you say, it'd be a small amount because He's not wanted at Roma, clearly. And, he to them is like, some of the players we've got, take a small amount for him just because we want him off the books. He's not in our plans. But, it doesn't mean he's not wanted here. If that does come about, then it clearly means they've had a good look at him and they like what they see, which is the opposite of what happened when Lossell come in. Lazel, or however you say it. They've had, obviously, two managers have had a look at him and not give him his debut yet. So there must be something badly going wrong there. I personally would prefer us not to sign Olsen, because if we didn't, it would mean that we've got more of a chance of buying a new first choice keeper in the summer, which is what I think we should do and would be one of our most important positions to add in. And if that makes Pickford number 2, so be it. But if you buy a new number 2 goalie, it doesn't rule out the possibility of buying a new number 1, but it makes it less likely, because you don't want to be, buying another one. Then you'd have 4 goalkeepers, and then if you buy an Olsen, and even if you let Lazel go, Olsen's not going to be third choice, is he? Why would he move here if he's just going to be third choice? He's being brought in with the idea that he's either going to be number 1 or number 2. And I'd like a little bit better than Olsen to be the new number 1 long term. This season, I'd be fine with him, because I've made my mind up on Pickford, but I'd prefer to go into the summer and get a new number 1 and either sell Pickford, or if you can't sell him, bench him, and then just have a kid as number 3. I don't know, or whatever. But it wouldn't offend me, but it'd send a message to me that we're not going to replace Pickford, so we're less likely to replace Pickford, which would make me sad, frankly.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed in that, but maybe that's exactly the message they're trying to send. Maybe the club does still have a lot of faith in Pickford. We've heard Ancelotti support him on multiple occasions, but clearly they do like Olsen. Ancelotti is giving him minutes in like games like the Newcastle game, played against United in the Cup as well. So clearly the club do fancy him. Whether they think a permanent move would be ideal, we're not sure. Of course, it is speculation. I mean, I'm quite happy just sticking with the loan until the end of the season. I'm not sure why we'd have to rush to make a permanent deal. It's not like we're going to become, loan FC. We're not just going to bring in loads of loan players. Maybe if we do want Dele Alli, we might look to someone else, but I think that's highly unlikely. As I mentioned, I would personally take Dele Alli on loan, but then I think we wouldn't be breaking any squad registration rules at that point. But then a player that we're going to have to mention, a lot of debate on Twitter, it's going to be a hard no for me just immediately. But Diego Costa, his contract has been terminated at Atletico Madrid, kind of linked with every Premier League club under the sun at the moment. Terry, would you take Costa at Everton?
No, not now. It's been a long time since he was the Costa everyone knows. I think people got a little bit of rose-tinted glasses with that one. He was absolutely quality when he was at Chelsea, but that was ages ago. It's just that his contract terminated. He's not going to come here. Like he'd be coming here to not play. Frankly, anyone we're going to end up with a little bit of Harry Kane syndrome now, where Calvert-Lewin is so cemented as the number 1 choice that you're going to struggle to get other strikers to come here just to sit on the bench. And if you're Diego Costa, who's just had his contract terminated, and we'll have a pick of a lot of clubs, you're going to go somewhere that'll start. Yeah, you're not going to come here. But I don't think he's not what we need. We need to get away from signing these really old, finished players who everyone remembers being good from years ago, but they've probably not got it now. So, no, we probably be better than Tosin, but that's not even guaranteed, and that's dodgy. I want our next striker to be a clear cut, much better than Tosin, not someone who there's a debate over. Put it that way.
Yeah. There's a reason his contract's been terminated at his home club. That's clearly not a return that's gone well for him. I think his legs are completely gone. He's not going to work in the Premier League, so it's an absolute no for me. Yes, we don't really have a backup striker other than Cenk Tosun, who it still gives me shivers down my spine when he comes on, and in the last minute for a last ditch attempt. But no, I can't see Diego Costa coming. I can't see the club even vaguely being interested in him. He'd demand a high wage. There's rumours that he might go to Wolves. It's kind of that short-term replacement for Jimenez, which I think would make a lot more sense. They are just without a striker there currently, but there are rumours he might go to MLS as well. I can't see that one happening. Kind of just to round off as well, there's a few players. He hasn't actually been linked with us yet, but Milik from Napoli, I'm not going to claim to know anything about him, but he is available. I think his contract runs out in the summer. I think he's available for 15 million this January. It's kind of a more of a broad question. Do you think we need to be bringing in a striker this January and then, or maybe after?
If we can get rid of Tosin, I think if we can get rid of Tosin, we will bring someone in. That applies to a lot of positions in the squad, but not before, because we're not going to, like you touched on, we're not going to carry this massive squad and just pile up the players. If West Brom or someone come calling for Tosin, then we might make the move for Milik, and even then it's not guaranteed, because they could always move Richarlison in for cover if they need to. But if they want him, which they might, because he's ex-Napoli and he gets linked an awful lot. Bit like Alan last January, like it was, I know the Italian press got loads wrong, but they constantly linked us with Alan, and he did eventually come. There's no rush, because we're not crying out for a striker. We've got one, and we've got to cover one, whether you like him or not. So we could happily just sit and wait for him to come out of contract and bring him here if he really wants to come here. But if we were to move a player on, then that might change the situation. But at the minute, I don't see anyone coming in unless someone was to go out. So it's one in, one out, dead man's boots in the squads. We can't carry any extra players. So if you get rid of, and that doesn't even count Balassi and Bezic, I think they don't even count. So you'd have to get rid of Tosin for the striker. You'd have to get rid of, I don't know, Sigurdsson, for example, for another midfielder, for Dele Alli, say. And I don't think any of that's going to happen. Not this window.
Yeah. The only potential outgoing I can really see is Bernard. He has been linked with Roma before. I'm not sure if that rumour is still about. I think it's been mentioned a couple of times in terms of January. I can see him leaving, whether it's in January or in the summer. Clearly, he's not massively in favour. He comes on as a sub every now and then. Hasn't had the impact that Ancelotti clearly wants him to make. So I can't see him staying for long. Whether that is he leaves on loan, he is on a very high wage, of course. But he was a free transfer at the time. It did seem like maybe a no-brainer. And he was decent for like that kind of first half of the season, but he definitely has tailed off. By no means the favoured left winger. And as we saw, Richarlison was out. Gordon came in for him instead. Didn't exactly set the world alight, but I don't really think he was given too long to do that. Clearly, Ancelotti's keeping quite a short lead on him. Not wanting to get him out there too early, but Bernard's clearly not in favour of the club. I can see him leaving, whether it's in January or the summer. Do you agree with that, Terry?
Yeah, he's one of the bigger earners, and he's not playing, is he? Let's be honest. I think Ancelotti's had a good look at the squad, and he's decided he can use Sigurdsson. He can use Gomez, but he doesn't seem to turn to Bernard, does he? So those big earners, who I don't think it is players, and when the time comes, they'll be replaced when he strips the squad back. I think Bernard will be one of the first gone, because he's turning to Gordon over him, which he was in the first lockdown games, and against Sheffield United. It means he sees Bernard as just surplus, doesn't he? It's, it wasn't like he used Gordon because Bernard wasn't fit. Bernard came on and did better than him, but was he worth probably 10 times the wage? I doubt it.
Yeah, could see him leaving, but that brings us to the end of this kind of transfer speculation video. Thank you very much for watching. Let us know down in the comments what your opinions are on all of the players that we have mentioned in the video. In terms of incomings, definitely let us know, and outgoings as well. We haven't mentioned too many of them, just briefly Bernard there, but could you see more players potentially leaving? So check out Terry Mine's social media, check out all the Toffee Blues social media, and thank you very much for watching, and join us next time on the Toffee Blues.